Welcome to Podcast This Escape, the podcast where we talk about the escape room we escaped from in the previous episode of this podcast. Katherine, thank you so much for running the room for us. We did it. We murdered a giant bug.
And ourselves.
And a copy of ourselves.
Yeah, it was great. Thank you so much for playing.
So far, this one's going to lead to the unresolved comedic trauma, but that's okay.
I know, it was good. Thank you so much for running it. It was a lot of fun. Yeah, it was like, did you come into this thing, like, what was your process for going, like, were you like, I want to make a room?
How did you end up with this room?
Yeah, I want to do a magnifying room, or like, how did this end up being the room that you made?
Honestly, when they were talking about it on the Discord, it was like, okay, does anybody have ideas for rooms? And I was like, I want to do a room about magnification. And they're like, that sounds awesome. So
can I say, in my notebook, all of my writing notebooks, I have just an ideas page that just have these single words for my plots of future rooms. I know, sorry, our lighting is terrible in here. You probably can't see any of that. And one of them, I don't even know if it was this book or my previous book, is just the word shrinking. And I have never done anything with it, and I have never known what the hell I was ever going to do with it. I also believe I also have the words magical dust adventure. I think I've talked about that one before.
That's been
this felt like it very much combines the two.
This is our magical dust adventure.
So thank you for showing me what can be done with those.
Well, it was a lot of fun. It went through several. I mean, a lot of it was very much clear from the beginning what I was going to do. I was like, I want them to have to shrink and then go through and look at everything again once they have shrunk some more. Because that's like something you can't do in like a regular room, like an in-person room.
True.
Because like they have to, like, there's no way to like reset everything and make them look at it all again. And then like most people, when they see something, they're like, oh, I'm done with it. But I had to put those hints in there that was like, oh, I've got to relook at some stuff.
And I've got to
hopefully
say, I have absolutely wanted that in a real room. Like it doesn't feel like it would be too outlandish to have a normal room and then you go through a door and then it's the same room, but everything is bigger and now you can explore things in a different way. It feels very doable. I wouldn't be surprised if somewhere in the world that exists, but I haven't done it and I really want to.
I think the hardest part for me, well, one of the hardest parts for me was figuring out if you were to look through a double convex lens, would the second image be bigger or smaller than the first image?
Oh, yeah.
I spent probably...
I didn't scrutinize it for a minute because I know that I am bad at that.
And I had people who were like, wait, wouldn't it be the other way around? I said, just don't question it.
Yep.
Just
makes sense to me.
Feel good.
I was really impressed with some of the detail. Like the little Roy G. Biv inside the word was lovely.
I mean, that puzzle I liked in general, like as an opening thing of just like, here is clearly the letters for the rainbow colors, but the colors are wrong and the order is, but the original order is, I thought that was really fun as a basic, as like the first instance of just seeing those letters. I really like that as a puzzle.
Fair.
I was pretty proud of figuring out that there was a word or two words you could make from using all of the letters of Roy G. Biv just once.
Yeah, that is fun. But then, okay, we need to talk about the last puzzle where we were arranging these shapes to form the number 625 out of them. Because honestly, I had a great time doing that. I thought it was really exciting and I felt very accomplished by the end. Katherine, you hinted that we may have overcomplicated it.
Yes, I don't understand how we could have overcomplicated it. So what's your interpretation, like what's your version of this
What did
puzzle?
we do?
So you got, like, mostly it was there, but in my mind, each square, so zero, like the zero square, is cut into 4 sections, okay? And each section is a tens place. So you've got the ones place, the tens place, the hundreds place, and the thousands place.
Right.
So if you have the number 0, you have 0, 0, 0, 0. So then you have the 1 would be 0, 0, 0, 1. So you'd have 0 in the top left corner, 0 in the bottom left corner, 0 in the bottom right corner, and 1 in the top right corner. So basically, in my mind, it was the squares were cut into like quarters, and you just like rotate the quarters around, and then you don't have to worry about the overlap of, is this like the first time it's been overlapped or the second time it's been overlapped or whatever.
I see.
So
that's interesting.
Okay, so hold on. So that's saying then if in the 315, the 3 is in the bottom left, whereas because that's in the hundreds column, whereas in the 3 as itself, the 3 is in the top right, rotated that way because that's in the ones column.
So it went
Yes.
0315. Wow.
It's basically the same thing, but in my mind, it was simpler to do it that way, where there was like,
How funny. I mean, it's a relief that it ends up coming out the same way because, yeah, apparently that's just not, it wouldn't have been how my brain worked for a bit, I think. Splitting it up in that way.
I understand. That to me does not feel like a less complex solution. It's very interesting. That makes more sense in your head. It makes so much, that feels like a much more difficult solution in my head. That
How
it's
funny.
only one section is rotated and placed in a different place depending on which unit. That to me is it's funny because like it's not a better solution or a worse solution, but to me that is the more. If you had done it that way and I had written the puzzle, I'd say I think you're overcomplicating it. I think you should just rotate the whole thing depending on what unit it is.
I didn't have to worry about like overlap being like on off for the overlap.
That's fair because that is
Also,
hard to visualize. I was worried.
Also,
about
I think it's great. Also, I think it's great to have people who have different ways of thinking about things because then they can like, solve the puzzles differently. So,
Yeah, definitely. All right. The other thing that, look, something as complex as a compound microscope scares me when it comes to interacting with things in a room because I know there are so many things that it can do. What's your microscope experience?
Junior high science.
Excellent.
Now, I was going to say before you came in saying that you wanted to do a magnification room. Was that before that as a group you had decided on a general museum exhibition theme? You're just like, whatever it is, I'm doing microscopes, and it kind of helped determine we're in a museum, or did you already know?
First as a good general thing that there could be lots of themes for.
It was definitely a museum theme first.
Cool.
Yeah.
And then they're like trying to figure out what types of rooms could be in a museum. And I think we had quite the discussion over different definitions of a museum because we had some people in the group who were like, oh yeah, a museum is like an art museum where you have like just these things and you walk through. And then we had some people in the group who were like, had like in mind like a children's museum where you interact with the different things. And we had to clarify that like very first of all.
That's fair. I am also going to be very interested in, like, if your pitch was a shrinking room, that doesn't necessarily imply a magic feel, but it heavily leans towards it. It feels like that's preferable. So I want to know, and I don't want to get too into spoileriness, but at what point did it become there is going to be supernatural ability to play in these rooms?
So we had I guess we had like a kind of a meeting where everybody kind of hopped on and was like, and I think they kind of nailed down some of the basic storyline first.
Fair. Great idea.
And then they're like, okay, within this storyline, what rooms do we want? And I think that's where it came in.
Okay, that's fair. Oh, interesting. And I can't ask too many questions deeper into that because that will get into the storyline. Like, I'm interested in where this storyline is going. I don't think this one had any particular addition to our Eve is secretly an incarnation of a magical ancient pharaoh, unless this was to build a plague army.
Of course.
Of bugs. It's not impossible.
Yeah, it is interesting because at the moment, like, yeah, it has this feeling of like we are chasing Eve through the museum, and you could very much get through just like, yep, you go into each room chasing Eve, you do all the 10 rooms,
and then you
find her and you go home.
But something's up.
But yeah, there's clearly.
But we don't know what it is yet. We don't know what we're building towards, and it's interesting. It's good to be in that sort of place.
An interesting thing on the magnifying glass puzzle, I had
going to
possible animals written down, like a bunch of possible animals written down for if you guys, and none of my testers like went beyond like figuring out that what each thing meant and then figuring out that they needed a dust mite. So I have all these written down. You guys were the first one that actually created the I was like, okay, like if they get 4 legs, 2 eyes, and a head, I was like, okay, kind of want them I want it to be like McFly, but I don't want them to create McFly because they're not gonna like want to like destroy McFly. So that's why I had it like flickering between McFly and a lungfish, because like
lungfish was a very specific choice. Why did you go with lungfish? Now, I know it felt great for me because not only is that a significant animal biologically, it was so significant that my university had one, like a living lungfish.
Nice. So I kind of did that for a couple different reasons. I think first of all, I was like, what is something that is like completely different from a dog? Like and like always possible, but still fits the bill of 4 legs, 2 eyes, and a head. And so that was kind of fun. And then I just was like, I've been looking into lungfishes recently, and it's been like kind of an interesting research.
So what does a lungfish have? Are they one of the sort of like, this
They're
is meant
a transitional
to be an early
creature.
Yeah. I feel like at one point we were writing a digital escape room that never got published for the Australian Museum.
Yeah.
And there were stories.
Well,
I'm pretty sure that was one of the stories about the person we were writing about, who was the founder of the museum, had a whole thing where he had identified he had identified a species of lungfish because it was served to him.
Does sound believable.
As in a meal at a pub, and he was like, "Wait a minute, hold on a second, guys, can you put this cooked fish in a bag for me and take it back to the museum?" And identified it as a lungfish and did a whole thing about it. I feel.
So number of legs and number of eyes. That feels like we're just going to go through the arthropod kingdom when we do that. Number of heads. I have questions.
Well, let's just say you got into quite monstery territory if you did more than 1 head.
Excellent.
But, I had like a flatworm, which had no legs, no eyes, and no head.
Nice.
So if you just push like the green button.
I also love the idea of just being like 4 legs, 3 heads. Oh, it's a hydra. 4 heads. It's a hydra. You cut off one of the heads and 2 have gone back. Okay, 5 heads. It's a hydra. You cut off another one of the heads and 2 have grown. 6 heads. It's a hydra. You've got just do that ad infinitum for that point.
Amazing.
Right. So I have like a worm, which is only if you only do a head.
Nice.
I have a fish, which would be 2 eyes and 1 head and no legs.
Fun.
Fair enough. Some fish only have 1 eye, sort of.
It's true. Komodo dragon has 3 eyes, 4 legs, and a head.
Where did Komodo dragon get its third eye from?
Did they have one of what's up with reptiles and their hidden heads? That's why I said when the snake was there and we're trying to figure out what snake could represent besides legs, and I said eyelids.
They have like it's not like a full-on eye, but it like senses and it's on the top of their head.
That's gross.
Yeah,
Let's get these
guys.
They're
super weird. Some reptiles are messed up.
Yeah. I don't like it. All right.
It's like one of those things how even the human eye was said to have come from a few different layers of evolutionary periods. Eyes are the most messed up, confusing thing in biology.
We're not meant to see living creatures.
It would be easier if we couldn't.
We're not meant to understand the world around us in this way. It was interesting. Like, I think it did take us a while to get this idea of like, now that we are in small world, like everything is worth a re-examine. Like there were some things where it felt like we had hints in the beginning of like there were some that were clearly like that felt like they were
definitely need to re-examine when we're smaller.
It was like
pointy
hey,
thing in box.
This door, it is too small for you. Come back later. This box, there's clearly something else in there, but you don't know what it is. Come back later. And magnifying glass, this is too small to read. Come back later. And so it felt at first like we could check these things as great. That's what we've been waiting to be small for. And the idea of like, what if everything is different?
Yeah, that was something we needed to get on the same page.
It took us some time. We needed a hint for that to be like, why don't you go and even stuff that we're like, well, I know this was weird. The idea of like, go back and look at it again to see if it's any weirder. Was that like? Is there something that across the board?
Was
like
that
people,
unique to us?
Yeah, was that something we did? Were your playtesters as reticent to re-examine?
They were pretty good at picking up on like. They're like, oh, there are some things that I've found now that I'm small. Maybe I should re-examine everything. It was pretty quick on their part.
That's fair.
Yeah, I don't know what it was. I just sort of went. I suppose I sometimes have a problem in these where like I'll think, well, I can't already picture Like, I mean, I get into Danny mode, I suppose, and I think I don't know what the solution's gonna be, but in my head, there probably won't be one, so I'm not gonna.
Oh, this
test.
was definitely a bit more of a build style room, and I was really trying to get on board with that, of a be willing to mess around with things and see what happens
and learn by play.
Yeah, I never feel comfortable with, but sometimes that's how they go. Sometimes that is how you find the solutions.
The only thing that originally started as a mess around with it puzzle was the magnifying glass. Like, all of the other stuff was supposed to be able to be like told that you're supposed to do it without messing around with it.
Even just like having buttons to press is messing around to me.
It's true. But I definitely had to come up with on the spot a way to destroy the extra person that you made.
Oops. Has much changed between playtests and the version that we got?
Not much. I have to say, like, when I come up with a room, I plan the whole thing out, puzzles and everything, and like get the whole room ready to go before I even like talk to anybody about the puzzles, and I have it all written out, and then I play test it, and usually there's just a few little tweaks that have to happen.
I get that.
I think part of it comes from having to. I create rooms at the library where I work for, kids. No, I have done some for ages 5 to 9 and some for ages 8 to 12.
Nice.
And I don't have playtesters for those because I don't have random kids that I can like pull in and be like, hey, like playtest this puzzle for me or whatever. So I have to be able to sit down and be like, hey, like this has to work on the first try, and be like, okay, like I got to make sure it's not foolproof, but basically without like even playtesting it once.
Do you notice any trends? Are kids more willing to do mess around puzzles?
I don't have the budget to do a whole lot of mess around puzzles.
Well, like even just like mentally mess around puzzles, like the try things out and see what and experiment with them. Or do kids like to do things when they know the answer?
Oh, definitely they'll try things out in that way. Like I have to like, well, in some ways both actually, because you've got like a lot of times that when I do it, I have a group of 10 kids and they don't all know each other. So sometimes it's like trying to like get them to break the ice while they're solving the puzzles. And it's like they're all on a team together. And so it's like I have to be very much facilitating how they work together,
giving them the opportunities to mess around in a few different ways. I could see how that could help that.
Yeah. So it's like, and a lot of times, especially with the 5 to 9 year olds, I don't know how familiar you are with 5 to 9 year olds.
That's been a bit.
But if you have a 5-year-old and there is a lock and a key and they don't get to open it, there is waterworks.
Yeah, okay, I believe it.
So, especially for the 5 to 9 year olds, I have to make sure that I have at least one lock and one key for each child, or else it's an issue.
Nice. That's really cool. All right. What out of all of the stuff that was going on in here, which one was your favorite? Which one do you like the best?
I've never done really one where I had to like kind of think on the spot. And usually that like scares me to death. But I think it was kind of fun to like be able to be like, okay, like you did this, and then like be like, how am I gonna keep this within, the bounds of my room, but also let you guys have fun with it, but also like keep it within the bounds of the arc as well.
Yeah, fair. I have to ask, I feel like, did dust mite come before the decision to have a number of heads section on the microscope? Because number of heads feels like a wild choice, but knowing that a dust mite sorta kinda doesn't have a head, it feels like that would make more sense.
Number of heads came after.
Yeah, cool.
I was trying to think of what like characteristics a dust mite had that I could do.
Yeah.
And I definitely wanted to have the dust mite like eat the hair. There was at one point in the Discord where I was like, do you guys think Bill and Danny would mind if I had them chop their hair off in the episode? and then somebody was like, you mean for real? And I was like,
No.
I gotta be honest. For real, I'd think about it.
So that was in the end, that was the purpose of the barber shears, was like just for our own hair specifically.
I'm glad
if Danny
that wasn't
hadn't
just me.
decided to, was that a requisite part of laying this trap for the mite?
Yes,
Cool.
because otherwise it just keeps following you around.
Yeah.
There's no way to get it to stop following you around
Nice.
unless you actually chop the hair off and leave it behind.
Fun.
Good. I feel good about that.
I just thought it would be a little element of silly that could be kind of fun.
That makes perfect sense. It clearly clicked completely in my head, and that was not even a slight question.
I did have a playtester who cut off all of their hair, and then I was like, well, now you have to cut off your arm hairs.
Yeah. I thought it was interesting, this one, like these moments of researching as being when you're small. Like, going back to the lens one, where there was the pliers in the lens box.
Mm.
How small were these pliers that we couldn't even see them the first time?
Well, we couldn't see the barber shears either.
Yeah.
They're just little baby things.
So basically, you went from outside the room.
Mm.
When you came into the room, you became the magnifying glass size.
Mm.
When you became smaller, you became the microscope size.
That
makes sense. Yeah, it's
Think
now
of
like
it in those
a new
terms.
level of small.
I was distinctly worried, being that small, that it was going to be very Alice in Wonderlandy of, oh no, how much are we too small to do anything with? I was ready to feel helpless. So I was glad that we could still do stuff.
Yeah, I very much was like, you're going to have to suspend some suspension of
I am
Yeah.
okay with
disbelief
that.
I'm glad we could get back up on the table.
I
No, because that's,
Yeah,
'cause
I
that's
didn't
the
see that
immediate
coming.
Alice in Wonderland problem. Is
Yeah.
you're too small. Sorry, table's out of bounds now. That's the Kingdom Hearts Alice in Wonderland problem. Yeah, it was a very nice sort of idea of the room. I felt so bad about like the plaque one at the start where I didn't listen closely enough the first time we played it. Just like, oh, it does sound a bit weird. Oh, don't worry, we've got it written down. We can see the plaque. And it kind of made me think at the time, I was like, why would I guess the audio is fun, but we didn't really need it if we can just read the plaque.
Yeah, see, that
and
was
needing
so
to come back and be like,
interesting.
oh, we're fools.
That was so interesting to me because I absolutely noticed my initial listening to it was, oh boy, I hope I get this written down because I couldn't quite understand a couple of those words that seemed important. It seemed a little bit too garbled for me. And then going through and going, yeah, so I need to listen to those scratchy areas. Maybe those scratches were important, but I should listen to what words the scratchy noises happened on. And then it was, oh no, but those are the garbled ones that I can't quite understand.
but
And then,
the garble
you crank the volume and finally on about listen number 4, we heard what it was actually saying.
That's actually really funny because, like, originally I was just going to say it over and over and over again. And then somebody recommended that we do that with the scratchiness. And I was like, that's actually probably a better idea so that it's more uniform.
Yeah,
it
was effective. And like I said, just a little bit sinister. There is something about audio overlaying with each other it's creepy. What is it that, like, what form of media would have impacted at least my childhood that gives me an instinctive scare with that?
I don't know.
Something. It does feel, though, that it must be something that is a specific.
Also, I had to make sure you guys listened to it before I sent you the text because, like, if I sent you the text, you wouldn't have paid as much attention to it.
Very
100%, yeah. And I think it was done really well in terms of like that balance. Because in the end, like once we have the text, the question is, well, then why was there audio? And it's like, well, okay,
I
there is a
definitely
reason.
maintained
You know,
that question
there has to
in my
be
head.
a reason, and going back to it and be like, oh, I see. Was very nice.
Yeah, I will say my thought progressions made a lot of sense, and they were very on the ball about things like that. Did my brain react and go back to using its thoughts and its questions and its observations at the right moment? Not very often. So I didn't, I noticed things. I didn't notice them at the right time.
Also trying to find something that made sense within the room that was like, had those words in it, but wasn't super obvious.
Oh, yeah, fair.
Was a little tricky.
Yeah, because
I was trying to find a down, but I could not find a down.
So I feel like I missed one, like, because the first one was into pliers, had up pliers.
Yeah, like the pliers, like the
pliers.
Yeah.
And then we had the next one was right. Where was the right one?
try to.
Try to drop.
Yeah,
okay.
I noticed.
And then there's another up.
The left was fine. Yeah, the
The
pipette.
The pipette. And then cleft had left in it.
Yeah.
The other thing with that, I was like, I want to make sure that whoever records it has an accent that is going to be able to act like
Yeah, to hit those.
Oh,
to hit those rather than.
so you said at the beginning that you had to do a little bit of re-recording. So was it that the person who was reading it read out this message, but also read out up, left, right, and they were going to be spliced in or something?
No, what happened is, so they sent it to me, and in the title of the actual
they'd called it
audio
up, right,
clip,
up, left?
well, they called it directional lock
Sure,
or something like that.
Yeah.
Like directional, and so I was like, well, that's gonna, give it away.
You're
and so
right. You press the button on this plaque. Open the audio document called directional lock, please.
Yeah.
That, you're right. That might have been something.
So then I saved it to my files, and I saved it with a different name. But then when my computer opened it back up, it reverted to the original name. So I was like, just to make sure that it doesn't revert on your end to what they originally called it, I was like, I will record their recording of it so that I can
Sure.
How funny.
It's an interesting one because, those are ones like, it's like the audio version of usually we would see them and have like letters written in there that are not in the pronunciation. The idea of finding words that aren't written down but are in the pronunciation is very interesting. That's
And
a very
again-
cool like twist of that idea.
Yeah, and oddly creepy.
Like
It's-
you would
you're
never
not
read
supposed to
the
be here.
pliers and think, oh, that says up.
No, not at all.
That's because you wouldn't say
Like,
the pliers, you'd say the
left,
pliers.
Cleft being left is the only one that was
Yes.
clear. And it's good to have one that is clearer than the others
Yeah,
in
cleft
case
is
people
left.
are having trouble there. But yeah, it's extremely subtle in the writing of it.
What's that?
That was the goal.
Yeah, it's very interesting. Awesome. Well, look, it was a lot of fun. Thank you so much for putting this room together and running it as part of this whole thing. There was one subtle difference I found that was very interesting from like a joint story perspective.
Ooh.
That in this one it became it was like a goal to get our passport stamped. Whereas I feel like in the one before it was kind of a thing that happened as we went, I suppose. It didn't feel like we were actively being like, let's stamp our passport. And in this one, it was much more of a, let's do the thing that gets a stamp on our passport. It did get us to other parts of the room, but it was interesting. And I wonder how that'll be for the rest of the
It is good to keep in
things,
mind.
whether or not it's our goal or a thing that will happen.
I think at this point now, our characters would know that getting these things done is a goal. And we've known from the start that it seems like it's part of Eve's goal. So it makes sense if we are trying to follow in her footsteps.
Yeah, 100%. I just found it interesting. It was like a very subtle
Definitely.
difference.
It was. It
Early
took
on,
us a
it's like,
second.
you need to find Eve and you need to get your passport stamped. And I went, oh, do I?
Yeah, so when I saw that image that had a picture of a stamp and said the maximum temperature is, I did assume stamp, that's going to be related to our passport. Therefore, I don't need to worry about this for a long time.
I think that was probably what people had the most trouble with in playtests was that the stamp happened in the middle of the room.
It did definitely catch us. It's interesting.
Yeah, it wasn't a you've done it, here's your reward. It was no, keep going. You're partway through. That's just one thing. Yeah, no, it was good. It was lovely. I did think that was going to be a different puzzle. We spent a long time with the lenses being like, well, we can't possibly put more than 360 degrees in. That's a full circle.
Well, I mean, that didn't bother me quite as much, but we did definitely debate whether that was going to come into it maybe separately.
I did have a bunch of playtesters who were like trying to figure out which ones added up to 360 degrees.
Yeah, it just kind of feels like without the context that we had, like, 'cause we had context that meant there was another puzzle. Like we'd already found the sort of the solution in the 3x3 grid that meant that it was more of a let's
that's
just
true.
check. But if you didn't have that, it feels like that's clear. It's almost like that is the puzzle. It must be the puzzle. You need, like, you have sections of a circle.
And
What
we're
can you
trying
make
to
a circle?
You're
want
right.
one
If we
lens.
hadn't already had the 451, we
Yeah.
probably would have gotten stuck with that for longer.
Yeah, I think I would have spent a long time just double because some of those numbers they just feel so right. You know, like one ends with 9, one ends with 1. Oh, that
Yeah,
gets us to
they
0.
were so
There's
some
2
of
that
them
with
were so
5.
close.
Like, oh, it's almost there.
And it's the sort of thing that when you're picking 9 numbers, they find accidentally making patterns or something with them is definitely on the table.
Right. So finding ones that added up to 451, but not having any of them add up to. And I think a way around that I kind of made was that if they got to that point and were starting to try and put them into the magnifying glass, I basically said there are 5 slots in the magnifying glass, and they were like, "Oh, none of the 5, none 5 of
Yeah,
these."
the smallest 5 is going to be not right, and anything else will be too big. Yeah, that is, I think, a helpful way to do it, to make sure that like you have other, and then it ended up being that way, right? We had other elements of it, like putting 1 in and being like, great, there's space for 4 more, and be like, great, now we know 100%. Let's just do the thing that we saw before. Like there was evidence in the place that didn't make it like a bad puzzle, because that, like, you know, that would be a bad experience. Like it was well done and it had enough evidence to point you away from that. It's just interesting because it feels like with no context, you're like, that's what I want to do.
Yeah. And I think the last question that I have is, how has it felt that you've had so much solo writing experience? How has it felt merging with a group?
Yeah, what was the group dynamic like for you?
It was actually really interesting. I really enjoyed it. I actually, have done a lot more group writing.
Oh, really?
As of recent at the library, even because I've been training other library staff on how to do escape rooms. I actually recently went to a library conference, and presented about making escape rooms at libraries.
What? That's amazing.
Yeah, so like being able to like collaborate with people in that probably helped me with this project, although timing has been a nightmare. Because we have people from all over. But that's the joys of this. But then it's also like, you never have to wait long for an answer. So that's kind of nice.
I remember that from university as well. As once in biology, we had to do a debate. Our debate was pick an extinct animal and do a pro-con debate of bringing it back from dead. And so there were 6 of us. And we had to write a reflection about the group work that we had done and any pros or cons to the group work experience. And everybody in the entire grade just wrote, "Getting 6 people together? Are you kidding me?"
Yeah. The nice part is they were willing to record some of the things, so everybody was able to kind of go back and watch them. That is fun. The nice thing about it being digital.
That's great.
But
that's very handy.
When I was getting my master's degree, I had a group project where one member of the group was in Germany and everybody else was in the United States. So that was fun.
Oh, yeah. Poor them.
Yeah, those things are tough. I mean, we had that a lot for Golden Idol, having a team in Utah and in London and in Latvia and in Sydney. So that was tough time zone wise to have a weekly meeting.
Yep,
but we made it work. It helped that we will often be up until 2 a.m. anyway, so it fit people's schedules to just go very quite late.
The worst part of that, and other things that we try to do with international people, is daylight saving, because for our Southern Hemisphere selves, it means that we go back at the same time that you go forwards and vice versa. So it's a 2-hour split every time daylight saving
change a lot. We don't all move the same direction at the same time.
And that is a nightmare.
Yeah. Yeah.
Oh, wow.
The East-West and the North-South both playing havoc with our scheduling. Well, look, thank you so much for coming on and running another room for us. It was great fun. I'm very excited to see more of this museum. What do we? Let's guess, Danny. Let's guess as a group right now.
Where do we think we're going next?
Where do we think we're going next?
I have no idea.
We've done the brief history of human history.
Yeah.
Which is room 4, but it was room 1.
And we've done Miss Magpie's models of magnification. So we're still definitely in the, more sciencey than
surely
engineering
we must
side.
be going to either 2 or 3. Looking at a map.
Oh, really?
Here.
Oh, sorry. Oh, I wasn't actually looking at where the rooms were placed in
We've done
relation to each
4, and then we
other.
went across the main foyer to room 8. So maybe we're going to either the whimsical world of taxidermy.
I'm very excited
I'm
about
scared for that. Or the Jeep Hall of Scientific Progress.
You don't think 7 is on the table?
Well, we did leave 8. We may have gone through 8.
A secret.
You're right. We went through a door that we didn't come in.
Yeah.
So we may have gone all the way to 7, Dr. Monk's Ward of Medical Milestones.
Easily could be.
Although I'm assuming that's probably done by Monk, who the patron that we named Monk's Emporium after, and I don't believe they're next on our schedule.
Oh, okay.
So probably not there.
We don't know, but I'll be very excited.
I will tell you, according to that map, there are hallways. They're like little tiny hallways in between. So
Oh, okay.
because
Oh,
mine
those are
had,
hallways. Gotcha.
like you had to look out into the hallways. So there are hallways. You don't have to go through rooms necessarily
you're
to
right.
get to
So
the
we might
other
end
room.
up
Understood.
anywhere. We could be in the McFly Hall of Transportation for all we know.
Oh, that's going to be a shift.
All I know is we're definitely not going to the Mushnik Hall of Horticulture, because that seems too far away.
Wait,
then
no,
again,
where? Huh? Oh, that's
all
not
over
that
there.
far away.
No, there's no... God can strike me down if we end up there in our next room.
Okay.
Wonderful. Well, look, thank you so much for running it. It was great fun to have you on. Thank you.
Thank you for having me. It was a great time to be on.
Wonderful. And Danny, thank you for playing a room with me.
Likewise, thank you.
Thank you for solving all the puzzles.
I don't think that's how it happened, but okay.
And sacrificing your hair to
that
save
was
us from a big
not
night.
a problem.
And thank you everybody at home for listening. I hope you enjoyed another episode of Escape This Podcast. If you want to help support the show, tell a friend, tell someone about it. Word of mouth is still the best way to spread podcasts to new people. And it really does mean a lot. Anyone you can tell in person or online, it does make a massive difference for us. It is the best way to help spread the show. You can also support us through Patreon. We don't run ads on the show. We support ourselves just through Patreon crowdfunding donations. So help support Escape This Podcast and Solve This Murder and all the free stuff that we make for everybody by donating. We really appreciate it. It is how we keep the lights on and the microphones recording. So there's benefits and bonuses. People can appear, anyone who's on that at any level can appear as an NPC in one of Danny's rooms. But also there's bonus audio weekly for all the $5 donors of this season. Often we have our playtests. We don't have any playtests this season. So there's a lot of cryptic crosswords and there's 2-minute mysteries and Encyclopedia Browns. In fact, we're doing a lot of Encyclopedia Browns using physical copies of the Encyclopedia Brown books that Katherine, you sent to us.
Yeah. Thanks to the library for putting them in the book sale.
Yes, it was hugely appreciated. But there's also extra bonus stuff. Our $10 donors have monthly videos, as well as a new podcast series there where we rewatch the 90s TV show Charmed and have a lot of fun doing it. And there's trivia for certain donors. It's a whole fun thing. So go and check it out. We really appreciate everybody who supports us there. And yeah, hopefully if you can, you can support us there too. So thank you so much. All right. I think that's the end.
That's it.
That's the end of the episode, everybody. Bye, everybody.